how do I know if I'm at the right brokerage or if I'm on the right team? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot to discuss, right? There's many, many, many different things to consider. But I think the most important and the first place to start is the idea around, does this company, does this team help me get clients? I mean, it's that simple. Am I in the hands of leadership that is directly helping me generate leads and get new clients? For most agents, they would say no. For most agents, they would say, no, I'm fending for myself. I'm going out there and generating my own opportunities. And I think that's where the problem starts, is that most agents are going to a brokerage or they're going to a team hoping to be saved, hoping that this team is going to supply me with all of my leads, which is, quite frankly, how most teams recruit.
Yeah.
It's how a lot of companies recruit. Is the promise that most agents struggle with, which I know for sure. I've interviewed, I've done so much testing with the agents that we coach and surveys on YouTube. Every agent says their number one problem, which is why they're not where they want to be, is because they don't have enough leads. Every single person says that. And so it's so easy for a team and a brokerage to say, well, come here, we'll give you all the leads you can handle.
So I think you got to back up a little bit even. And is your broker providing what they said they were going to provide?
Yeah.
Or did they just overpromise to get you in the door?
Right.
Right. And then you're just kind of forgotten soul. Because, I mean,
we're going to break all that down,
yeah.
though. I mean, when you say, are they fulfilling on the promise that they've made? Well, there's many things that we're going to unpack in this conversation.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the one. There's 20, 30, 40, 50 things that they're promising. I'm talking about the main one. In my opinion, the main one, if I had to boil it all down, is this person going to help you get clients?
That's right.
I mean, it's the number one problem in our business. And so when I think about, are you at the right place or the right team? Well, if you are there because they, to your point, have promised that they're going to help you get clients and get leads, and they're not, could be the first sign, right? It could be the first sign.
Yeah.
And the vast majority of agents, like I said before, is that brokerages and teams aren't. From the feedback that I have, right? It's that most agents are like, no, my brokerage is just telling me to do open houses and do social media, but when it comes to them actually impacting your bottom line income, there isn't a direct correlation. It's the agent doing things on their own. And so that's the first thing I think we got to consider.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Is it their responsibility?
The brokerages or the teams?
Yeah.
It depends. It depends on, so that's a whole nother podcast, but like from a leadership perspective, it depends, it's like, is that what your company does? If you were on my team, as an example, yeah, we would take that away from you 100% because I know that's what most agents suck at.
Yeah.
They can't lead generate. They can't generate their own business. Most people that got into the business had no idea that they had to get their own business, and it's the reason why they leave the business. So if I would redo my team or redo my company, it's like the company that I grew up in. Like I as far as the mortgage business goes, when I started the mortgage business, the reason why that company is so damn successful, Quicken Loans, which is now Rockin' Homes, is you didn't have to worry about lead generation. It was the joke of push button, get leads. You can get as many as you wanted. So you had salespeople that didn't have to worry about the number one problem, which is what it was on my team. It's like, you're going to come on my team. You don't have to worry about prospecting or lead generating or buying anything. We're going to have ISAs that prospect on your behalf, set all of your listing appointments for you. All you have to do, Mr. Agent, is go on the appointment, bring it back, and then we'll actually process the whole thing for you. We'll deliver on the client experience, et cetera, et cetera. You just have to show up to the appointment and to the closing. We'll handle the rest. Get out of the way, right? But so when you say, is it the leader's responsibility? It depends on their business model.
Yeah.
But for the agent's perspective, to say, am I at the right brokerage? The first question we have to ask is, are they helping you acquire new business and new clients? Yes or no?
So what's next? If they have that, don't have that, what would be the next thing you'd look at?
Yeah, so as I'm going through my list and I say, okay, let's just assume that there isn't any lead generation or client acquisition system in place. So I don't have that. Okay. Well, then the next thing you have to look at is the money. It's what is my relationship with this company in terms of the way in which revenue is being split.
Sure.
And so here's the next big problem, right? Is that I'll just say a lot of teams and a lot of real estate brokerages are splitting up the revenue in a way that would suggest they are providing lead generation and client acquisition, but they're not. So let me get really, really practical. What I mean by that is this. There are many brokerages that have agents on that say, hey, when you close on a transaction, I will get 50% of the money, Mr. Broker, and you agent, you will get 50% of the money. Well, to give up half of your income would suggest that you or me, the broker, was the one who got you the client in the first place. So if you're the agent and you're getting your own clients and you're getting your own leads and giving up a huge portion of the revenue, then you have to question that. So one, to get really clear, is the broker generating opportunities for you? If not, and they're taking a large portion of the revenue that you're generating without their help, you're going out and doing your own lead generation, your own prospecting, you're getting your own clients without the support of the company, and they want a large portion of the brokerage or commission rather, I would say this is a huge, huge sign, be a huge consideration of either A, I've got to renegotiate that thing, or B, it's potentially you're at the wrong company. So if I'm listening or watching this podcast, I'm saying, okay, well, what's reasonable? Well, what is a reasonable commission split, right? I would say, and we're going to talk more about that in just a second, but I would say that, if you're giving up, call it more than 25% max without the first thing being in place, for me, that'd be a red flag. If you're at a brokerage and you are a solo independent agent directly with a firm, and they're taking more than 20 or 25% of your commission check without being the one who supplied the lead or acquired the client on your behalf, I think it's too much.
What other signs should agents look out for to determine if they would be better off at another company?
Yeah. So the assumption is, okay, they're not getting leads, they're not getting clients, but they're on a reasonable revenue split with a broker, right? So maybe they're on an 80-20 split with some type of cap. Maybe they're on a 75-25, something like that is what you're saying. So the next most important thing to consider is environment. So we talked about client acquisition. We've talked about money, right? The next most important thing is environment. So much to cover here. So when I say environment, first off, are you at a company that has top producing agents? Are you in an environment of success? We know there's so many studies, Ben, you know this too, that if you put the wrong person in the right environment, they will win. But if you put the right person in the wrong environment, it doesn't matter. They will lose. And so environment could be argued to be the most important thing. So what is the environment? Are you at a company or a team where you walk in and there's literally not a soul in sight? It's like a graveyard. Hello, is anybody here? Like I walk to them all the time.
Yeah.
These huge, fancy, nice offices. You'll walk in, it's like, does anybody work here? You got the sole person at the front desk, and then there's not a soul inside of there. So that's part of what I mean by environment. Do you have an environment that would help you become the best version of yourself, where there's visibility around what you're doing all day? Or do you just sit home in your underwear? Is there any levels of accountability? Are there top producers that are in the office every single day getting after it, right? Are you success breeds success? Are you surrounded with people that are winning in this business? So that'd be one thing. The next thing with environment, are you at a company that is broker centric or agent centric? This is a huge consideration. What do I mean by that? There are still companies right now that are hanging their hat on the brand.
Sure.
You're going to get, and these are more of the older companies, and I don't necessarily want to pick on any one company and upset anybody, but it's the older brands that have been around for quite some time.
Yeah.
They are still recruiting agents and still using this line that, hey, you are going to get clients just because you're with our brand, which is an absolute lie. I mean, the fact that somebody can look somebody in the eye and say, if your name badge
Yeah.
says Ben with this brokerage, more people are going to do business with you. It's just there's no truth behind that whatsoever. The consumer is doing business with the individual agent.
Yeah.
In often cases, the clients don't even know what company the brokerage represents.
That's right.
Let alone that they actually care. I went through this myself. I was with a big company for a long time. I was with Keller Williams, and I did fine there. It was great. And I was always worried that if I left this brand, this name recognition that people, heard about, that people wouldn't do business with. I was worried about this forever.
Yeah.
And so to prove it wrong, not only did I leave that bigger company, but I started my own independent firm. Guess what? Nothing happened and no one cared. My assistant interviewed all of our past clients. It was like 65% of the people that I've done business with over the past decade or so didn't even know what company I was with, let alone did they not care.
Wow. I think the argument would be, or the test for you to run through your head as you maybe make this decision for yourself is, this is how I think of it anyway, right? If it was the brand, wouldn't everybody be producing the same amount?
It's a great point.
Right?
Yeah.
So if Brandon, in your point, is the separator, then it doesn't matter which brand you're with. They're buying Brandon. They're not buying the brand. And if that's the case, then everybody should be confident to kind of go out on their own.
Such a great point. Yeah. And it's not about one company. I'm just giving some companies as an example.
Sure.
You're right. But it's like, if it was the brand, then you hit the nail on the head. It's like, okay, well then if it's the brand, then every single agent at Remax, Keller Williams, Coldwell Banker, Century 21, the brands that have been around the longest, then that would suggest that all of those agents at those firms are very successful. And we know that's not even close to being true, right?
That's right.
So that's a really good point. So agent-centric versus broker-centric. So a lot of these older companies are still very broker-centric, which is a lot more than we want a lot of your money in exchange for this name. It really has to do with whose brand is the agent building. So what I mean by brand, by agent-centric versus broker-centric, a lot of those companies won't let you brand yourself. They won't let you put yourself and your number on your own listing signs. It has to be their company logo, their office number. Why? Because they want to drive leads through floor time. And it's like, well, wait a minute. You didn't help me get this listing. You didn't help me do this whatsoever. But when I go out there and acquire a new client, you won't even let me brand it to my own self. No, we're going to brand it to the company. That's what I mean by broker centric. Another example, on top of not being able to build your own brand, it's like, okay, well, can I market? Can I leverage the company's listings to do open houses, to prospect around those listings, to grow my business around the market share that we do have? You see, so many brokers want to like hang their hat on, we've got X amount of market share, but they won't even let you leverage the market share because it's so broker centric. It's not agent centric. And you got to give credit where credit's due. I think the pioneer of this was Gary Keller. He's really the one in my that I believe, because all these other companies are spin-off from people that were at Keller Williams to start off the EXPs and all these other they all came from Keller Williams. He was really the first one to create this agent-centric business model, to recognize that the consumers do business with people, not companies, and that it was all about the agent's brand, not the brokerage's brand. And so another red flag for me is, am I at a place that allows me to build my own career, my own personal brand? So a lot of teams do this too. They will not let you have your own personal brand. You know, they want to have it's ego, right?
Yeah.
So the team leaders, it's all about the team leader's name, the leader's going to be everywhere. And so this is the next thing to consider. What type of an environment are you in? What type of culture are you in? What type of leadership are you surrounded with? Are you with a leadership team that wants you to win for your own self? Or do they want you to succeed just so that they can succeed? You know what I mean? And so like, that's really important to me.
100%. Yeah, we do. Do you think it matters, right? Is it black and white, or is it dependent on where you are at in your career?
With what piece?
Like all these different factors, like that we're talking about, especially like the branding thing, right?
Yeah.
Is there a time if other factors, the commission split, the lead generation, and I don't get my name out there, is there a time in your career where that would be okay and it's not so black and white?
Yeah. I think, to be fair, what happens oftentimes is that newer agents that don't know any better are the ones who fall victim to, they become prey.
Mm-hmm.
And I've talked about this before, and it's very real, and it's very unfortunate that new agents are the prey of people that know, they really know. It's like this Wizard of Oz thing I talk about, where you're like, these brokers or these teams, you don't have that much value to offer.
Sure.
And you know that most new agents are going to be out of the business in a year. And you also know that they're going to most likely in the beginning get 3, 4, 5 deals from people that they know that you can benefit from tremendously. So a lot of brokerages will take advantage of that. They'll go and recruit new agents specifically. And they'll get the quick 3 to 5 deals from their family members who respond to that. And they'll take a huge chunk out of that, right? Because it's like, well, when you get a deal, you don't know what you're doing. So we'll help you through it. We'll mentor you through it. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, I think that as agents start to A, develop their skills, B, build some confidence, that they start to have this like market sophistication of awareness, where it's like, wait a minute, this broker's taking, they don't know any better. I talk to new agents all the time that reach out for coaching, and they, with a straight face, I ask them 2 questions. One, is your brokerage helping you get your own get business, or are you getting it on your own? They say, well, I'm getting it on my own. And then I say, okay, great. Well, what does the compensation look like? Well, it's a 50-50 split. Okay, what's the cap? There's no cap. And they don't even know. They don't even realize what that means, right? Because they don't know anything about like an agent-centric, 100% commission brokerages out there, right? They don't have any clue. So yes, I think it does depend on where you're at in your career. I think that I've said this for years, to be really fair. I think that new agents are probably best served on high-level teams for the first year and a half of their career, where they do have support, they do have accountability, they do have great environments to build a really good foundation.
Let me ask you this: for environment, if you can't be at or you don't have an in-person environment, do you think you can succeed with the right virtual environment?
It's great. That's exactly what I was going to bring up. So thanks for reminding me. Yes, absolutely. I mean, we do it.
Yeah.
I mean, we do it in our coaching business. And it works really, really well, in that some agents are in a toxic environment. So it's like, I got to stay away from the in-person stuff, because it's all the victims that hang out by the water cooler, and that all they do is just suck the life out of you.
Yeah, or they focus on the wrong things. You spend all this time on training that doesn't even matter.
It's brutal, right? So 100%, and there's companies and teams that do it every single day, where they've created this virtual environment like on Zoom as a level of the visibility and accountability, where we're together every single day doing what we're supposed to do. We hear each other doing it, right? We're on the phones together. We're giving each other feedback. We're holding each other accountable. You're showing up just the same way you would in person. So absolutely 100%. We've proved that you can do both. And that was the other piece about environment. It's like, if you can be around top producers, which is very rare, right, to find that. But if you can find that and you can be in the office, I think that's a recipe for success. If you can't, then the next best thing is to say, okay, how can I surround myself with people that are top producers that might be all over the country, right? And I can be in a virtual environment. It's probably better, actually, because most brokerages are made up of like the 80-20 principle, right?
Yeah.
And that 20% of them actually produce, 80% of them don't. And those 20% are kind of like, they're hard to find, right? So an agent might be better off saying, okay, well, let me create this virtual environment of producers all over the country that may not be like looked at as competitors. And so you can create that virtual environment to get everything to get what you need to produce at a high level.
Where would you bring in, like, this is just another factor, like how does leverage from a brokerage play into this as a consideration?
Like, what do you mean? Give me an example, like leverage.
Like front desk, admin, transaction coordinators, those types of things.
Yeah.
If they provide or don't provide.
Yeah. So that's the very next thing that's great. So that's the fourth consideration, right? So we talked about lead generation. We talked about money. We talked about culture, leadership, environment. Now the fourth consideration for me is, okay, we'll call it support, right? To be fair. Okay. So yeah, this is the fourth and major consideration. It's like, okay, if I don't get leads and I have a good compensation structure, it's maybe a not great environment. The last thing I got to look at to determine, am I in the right place or not, is what type of administrative support am I getting? So we're talking about things first and foremost, what type of support do I get around the client experience? So when I get a listing, do I have listing coordination where someone can help me with the photos and the sign and the installation of that and the lockbox and the marketing and the social media and the positioning of my listing, or is that all on me too?
Yeah. Do they have the recipe for the hamburger to make it the same way every single time, and they're just plugging you into it?
That's exactly right. So what are they doing to enhance the client experience? Do they offer transaction management? A lot of brokerages do. You got to ask yourself, do they help me with the transaction coordination, or is that on me to do as well?
Yeah.
And then you got to look at, okay, what type of just pure admin support. So once I close out a file, am I left on my own to figure all that out too? Or do I get any support to upload the paperwork and help me through the process of actually getting paid? And are they helping me brand myself? Do they have any marketing services, or is that all on me? I think this whole video is about this thing that I often talk about. Like, what is the value exchange? And it has to be tangible, right? It can't be pie in the sky. Like, oh, we're gonna really help grow your business. Oh, really? How? That's specifically? Right. What is number one? Right? It's like questions like that, because it's like this whole video is around what type of tangible support are you getting in exchange for what you're giving up? And I think all too often agents' answer to that is, I get very, very little and I'm giving up too much. If that is you and you feel that way, it's probably time to start looking, because there's a lot of great companies and great teams where agents don't feel that way. They feel quite the opposite. They feel like, wow, I'm actually getting more than I'm giving in return. Then you're in the great spot. And that was always my goal when I ran my sales team, and then when I had my independent firm before I sold it, is we used to say this all the time in our ownership meetings. We want agents to feel that they're getting more than we're getting in the relationship. And they were, right? They kept 100% of all their commission. We did lead generation on their behalf. We provided with their CRM, all their marketing. We did all their social media for them. We did all their transaction coordination for them for 100% commission. They get to keep all the money, and we did all the services, right? And we just charged $300 a month as a flat fee. And the agents were like, this is a no-brainer. I paid $3,600 a month or a year, $3,600 a year. This was way less than I was paying anywhere else. And I can't believe, and we gave them office space, right? So we had online, offline environment. And I'm not saying that's the answer, right? I'm not saying that that's the answer, but I think that is if agents need to consider this. Am I in a position where I feel like I'm getting more than I'm giving, And if you feel that way, there's no need to look. But I think too often agents don't feel that way, which is why this video is so highly requested,
Yeah. Let me ask you this. If you can get those things sorted out on your own and create some leverage for yourself through, leverage as in going into that conversation with the broker. Like, I know I can get my own leads, right? I know I can hire my own support, right? I know I can create, or I already have the right environment, right? If you do those things ahead of time, don't you think that just sets you up to go in and really tangibly be able to have that conversation?
Yeah. You talking about like negotiating like some type of relationship with the broker?
That's right.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think, it's sad to say, but it's true, like it's like prostitution, quite frankly. Brokers are they're probably more desperate for agents than agents are for clients.
Sure.
So if you go to a broker and you say, I can produce 25 to 35 deals on my own. I have my own assistant. I do all my own marketing. Yeah, the broker's salivating. You can get anything you want from that broker.
So before you switch, I guess the question should be, should you get some of these things taken care of and take ownership of them so that when you do go out and find the broker, you can find one and get the most value for what you actually need?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think what you're asking is, and I don't know if this is what you're asking, but I think where I'm at is that agents should not ever depend on their broker to be successful. If that's what you're at. Like, the agent has to go out there and they're independent contractors. You're a solopreneur. You've got to go out there and build your business. I would never rely on the broker or the team leader being responsible for my success.
Yeah.
If that's what you're asking, 100% yes, all the time, right? And so the broker should be your partner in business that's helping support you in helping you grow your business. Now, that means a lot of different things that we just talked about. You know, we gave people really good things to consider. But yeah, the agent should not have a victim mentality where they think, and they do, they brokerage hop from one broker to the next, to the next, to the next. They think that the broker is the problem and that the broker should be the one to save them. The truth and the reality is it's your fault. Like, it's not the broker, because you said this earlier, there are agents that succeed at every brokerage.
That's right.
It's not the broker. You know, you're not winning. 9 times out of 10, it doesn't matter what company you're at.
Yeah.
If that's what you're asking. I don't care if you're with Remax or Billy Bob's Real Estate that someone's never heard of before. That won't be the reason why you win. And it's probably not the reason why you're failing. We have to look in the mirror, but oh my gosh, yes, agents want to blame everything on the broker.
Yeah. And if we focus at, okay, are you at the right place or not? I think, and through a lot of conversations, it's figuring out what are your strengths, what are you good at, and what are you've decided I am unwilling to figure out, or I just can't figure this part of the process out on my own. Now you can go to that relationship as you look for the next broker, and I've got these 2 out of 4 things, but I don't have these 2. And be just getting the best value for those things and finding the brokerage that fits those 2 buckets, maybe instead of all 4.
Yeah, I would tell you the easiest thing to do is that what we talked about, agents are probably better. It's either one of 2 options, and I'm very clear on this. It's either agents need support around all 4 things that we talked about, which is the vast majority, and they belong on a good team.
Sure.
Or they have all 4 solved, and they're an independent solo agent with a firm that financially makes sense. I mean, it's that clear to me.
Yeah, it really is.
It is, right? Because all the in between is where the mess is.
Yep.
And if agents can it's that simple. If you need help in all 4 of those things, what most agents do, you're not going to get that at a brokerage relationship. You got to go on a team, and it's not you get to. You know what I mean? It's like a team is probably really good for you, and you probably make a lot of money and be really good thing for your career. And then once you have all 4, right? Once you can start generating business on your own, and you have no problem with lead generation, and you don't need any support, and you've created your own environment. Maybe you're in a coaching where you don't need to rely on that environment. You got your own environment. Then maybe you go off on your own and go to a brokerage where you can do your own thing and not need a lot from them. In exchange, you get what you need. Maybe it's office space. Maybe it's a little bit of admin support under a compensation agreement that makes sense for both you and the broker. Or maybe it's a 90-10 split or an 80-20 split, or maybe it's just a flat fee because it's like, I don't need you for much. Or maybe you go to a place where it's like, I'll give you 5% of my commission and I'll rent my office space from you. That's where it's very, the exchange of value is very, very transparent. It's very, it makes just sense for both parties. And there's none of this like Wizard of Oz, like, you think I'm giving you this, but you don't really get it in return. And I want a whole bunch of money in return for what you're probably not getting.